Welcome to Phil and Ted's Sexy Boomer Show. I'm Ted Bonnet.
And I'm Ted Bonnet. Oh, no, wait.
No, I'm Phil Proctor.
I'm Phil Proctor. You're Phil Proctor.
I'm Phil.
Yes.
How are you, Phil?
I'm actually feeling pretty good today, especially since we have, as our guest today, Carl Gottlieb, who we go back a long ways together. And we're going to talk about a lot of interesting things today, including the writer's strike.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
I had some material written for me about it, but I can't use it.
Why?
Because
Because you're on strike.
Yeah.
Well, that's a shame. Well, to fill the gaps, we're trying a new thing with the show, a new format.
Yeah.
We're going to invite a fan to come in and ask a couple of questions.
What this guy
yeah,
over
that's who
here
this guy is right here.
What do you think I was, his bodyguard?
What is your? Who are you? What's your name?
My name is M.C. Gainey. And
I know you.
I'm here, yes, as I'm here as Mr. Gottlieb's bodyguard.
Biggest fan?
Yeah, and biggest fan. So he'll have a chance to. He paid $100.
What?
He paid $100.
Oh,
Yes. So he gets 3 questions.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's exciting.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, let's say
Carl
hello
Gottlieb.
to Carl.
Hello, all.
Hello.
To you here in the studio, and hello to all the ladies and gentlemen and all the ships at sea.
What a pleasure to see.
Most of our
to
listeners
see
are
you.
adrift, I think.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Now, Carl, you are an actor, a director, a producer, a screenwriter, an author. You wrote best-selling books, The Autobiography of David Crosby, and
2 of them.
2 of them, and a book I just read this weekend, The Jaws Log.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I read the 30th anniversary edition.
They're all the same.
Yes. And
No, they're all the same after the 30th anniversary edition and forward. They're all the same.
And, of course, you wrote Jaws, the movie, with...
I share credit on the screenplay with Peter Benchley.
And did you
The
know
author of
that
the
I
book.
went to school with Peter Benchley?
What a preppy you must be.
No, it was grade school. Alan Stevenson School in New York City. And Michael Eisner was also there.
Where is that?
East 78th Street.
Okay.
And Lexington.
I'm a West Side guy.
I've always known that
What
about
grade
you.
were you in?
Many of them.
1 through 6, I believe.
Something like that.
Yeah, and then you go to junior high school.
Yeah.
And then you go to regular high school. I went. They have 2 plans in New York: K through 8, 4-year high school, or K through 6, 3-year junior or whatever it is, and then last 3 years at a regular college.
Well, you have to be a mathematic genius just, to be able to understand that.
Are you from? Where are you from originally, Carl?
New York.
You are from the city?
I grew up in Washington Heights, Manhattan, in the Heights.
Oh, wow.
As a matter of fact, I went to 4 years of high school and 2 years of college taking public transportation, and I got so tired of that, I transferred. I said, I want to go out of town. I had read like Dink Stover at Yale, and I figured I want to go to a college that has a dormitory and a football stadium and CCNY had a football stadium, Lewiston Stadium, great stadium for concerts.
True.
But I wanted a stadium with a football team and fraternities and all that stuff.
But you had the A train.
Yeah.
The A train's a great train.
Well, you have to take the local down to 72nd Street.
Double A.
Yeah.
I used to have to go up to 253rd Street in the Bronx because I went to Riverdale. But they had a dormitory. I became they call it a 5-day boarder because then you could go, back to mom over the weekends.
Yeah.
Plus at New Haven, at Yale, you had
Yale, that's
Peppies.
another story.
Where is that?
No, I wound up at Syracuse.
Syracuse. Okay.
Yeah, and that's where you met Larry Hankin, I learned.
Yep.
Holy mackerel, I saw Larry yesterday.
Oh, great.
Larry's been on the show.
Yeah, sure. I read his book, too. His book is a very entertaining read.
He is a very entertaining man, isn't he?
He's still going full bore.
Yep.
Amazing. So you where do we start? You started, again, through these relationships. The committee is where you first sort of did.
Yeah, I'm curious. How did you get connected up with the committee?
Okay.
First, let's define the committees for people who don't know.
All right. It's probably the most landmark in improvisational.
After Second City.
After Second City, that's true. They were kind of the first to really go national.
Back in prehistory.
The day.
Back in the day, there was the Second City, there was the Premise in New York.
That's right.
And then there was the Committee in San Francisco.
And the Compass Players also.
The Compass Players hadn't started yet because they were an offshoot from the Committee, I believe.
Oh, they were.
I think it was Larry told the story about how they picked him up in a car and drove him out to San Francisco.
That was the Committee, yes.
Yeah, for the Committee.
Yeah, I was thrilled. I was stationed in the Army at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, which is a quite attractive spot, garden spot of Missouri. And I read in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, which we used to get at the Post, that Larry was going to be in St. Louis with the Compass Theater, which was an offshoot, or David Shepard, who was one of the co-founders of Second City,
right,
found a place to do the show, and Larry was hired to do the show in St. Louis. And I said, wow, here I am at Fort Leonard Wood. Larry's in St. Louis. I can go in on the weekends, which is what I did. I'd go in every weekend to St. Louis and pretend I was a civilian and hang out with Larry at the Compass Theater
cool.
and experience the scene on Gaslight Square, which I don't know if you remember. Gaslight Square was a big kind of a Greenwich Village enclave in St. Louis, and the doyens of that neighborhood were a couple, Fran and Jay Landisman. And Jay Landisman was the entrepreneur who founded the Compass, who put the Compass Theater into a theater.
Oh, wow.
And Fran Landisman was off writing songs. She was a great songwriter and composer. She wrote Girls in Their Summer Dresses and all kinds of good stuff. Anyway, so that's how I got to St. Louis, and then Larry got picked up to go to San Francisco, and my Army stint in St. Louis ended.
Wow.
And I was in St. Louis. I was in the Army for the great Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh boy,
that was
your fault.
No, I was
know that.
I was part of the deterrent. All of a sudden, I was in a training company, so I didn't have to worry about shipping out.
Yeah,
because that was the regular troops. But the poor regulars who were stationed at Fort Leonard Wood when the Cuban Missile Crisis arose, they were mobilized, issued live ammunition. They had trucks ready to roll. Wow. They were going to convoy to Miami, where they would take boats to attack Cuba.
Boy, that was close.
Double latrine duty, too, I'm sure.
Yes. And I was on the streets of St. Louis doing that famous countdown when they were wondering if the boats would turn back or if the Russians would.
Oh, my God, yes, I remember
would
that.
break the blockade. And it was a pretty edgy time. But the Russians turned back and, peace prevailed.
So you ended up going out to San Francisco.
Yes.
And as Larry Hankin tells it, you got some work down in Hollywood, and you went, and he ended up coming down and sleeping on your couch.
Yep. Well, what happened? One of the advantages of being in the committee is occasionally you would get scouted by casting agents from L.A.
Yeah, the big city.
Most notorious of which was Fred Roos, who later
Freddie Roos.
He became Francis Coppola's partner. And
big producer.
Big producer.
It was kind of an event because you could fly for next to nothing up to San Francisco, and it was a weekend event for people to come up and see the show.
The midnight special was like $95 or $45.
Yeah.
It left at about 12:10 a.m. from San Francisco, got to L.A. about 1 a.m., and you could go to sleep and then wake up the next day and do a Monday's work because we were dark Mondays.
Yeah.
You could do a day's work and then get on the plane and go back to San Francisco, which is what I did.
What brought you down to Los Angeles originally? I mean, what was the job?
My first important job I was cast on the Smothers Brothers show as a writer, sketch performer.
Yeah. Now, how did you get cast as a writer? Because you were a sketch performer, and
Tom and Dick had been a huge hit on television for 2 years. They knocked Bonanza out of number one.
Wow.
And in their contract, they had to live with a network-approved producer for 2 years. And the guy they got was a guy named Stan Harris, who was a conventional producer of schlock.
Yeah.
So they got rid of him as soon as they could and took over the reins and produced their own show and started looking around for what I like to think are the best and the brightest, among which were myself, Lorenzo Music, Bob Einstein, a guy named Paul
Lee
Wayne,
French.
Lee French. Lee French had done the show as talent. They had booked her as talent.
That's right.
And then the other writers were
Steve Martin?
Steve Martin was on the show, and Bob Einstein. I mentioned Bob Einstein and me. So it was a very.
Wow. What was the spirit there? I mean, what were you guys? I mean, you were
feel
really
like
pushing
you were
it.
revolutionaries?
Yeah, let's kick ass and take names. We would every week was a tussle with.
Did you get a lot of blowback from the network?
Program practice.
Yeah, I mean, I know they took you off eventually, but was it always there from the beginning?
The pressure was always there. It got so that we would put stuff in the script that we knew would be cut to distract them from the stuff that we wanted to be in the show. You type in the script, "You cunt."
Oh, no.
And they would say, "You can't say that." Meanwhile, a page or two later, when we said, the president is a jerk, that slipped by.
Yeah, that slipped by.
Yeah. It's amazing what the censors will miss when you do that.
Yeah.
It's like dangling a bright object over here.
Yeah.
It was actually the same in the Soviet satellites during that time. They would do cabaret in like Poland, and they would do jokes that the censors did not understand. They were almost speaking in a code, and everybody felt energized by that, fighting against the oppression of the Soviet system.
Well, like that great Russian line that described the Soviet workers, they pay us to work, and we pay to not work. Boy.
Well, it's better in Russian, I think.
I'm sure.
You won an Emmy.
The Smothers Show won an Emmy. We had so many tussles with program practices that when Tommy so antagonized Robert Wood, who at that time was the president of CBS, that they canceled the show. And then we won the Emmy, which was that's kind of a rebuke. But in the meantime, we had all been picked up for the next season. So it was for us individual writers and the talent, any of us who were under contract, it was great.
Pay or play, right?
It was pay or play. So I got paid for
doing nothing.
7 episodes of doing nothing.
That's show business.
But, the backdrop of that period, 1968, political assassinations, we're going to the moon, Vietnam. It was a extremely volatile period.
Much like today.
Yeah.
History repeats itself.
Interesting point. I mean, how do you see it now with the wisdom of experiencing the late 60s today?
To quote one of the popular songs of the period, "We have all been here before." Deja vu.
Yeah.
And something's happening here. What it is getting clearer and clearer.
Yeah, we want to talk about the writer strike eventually, but we want to talk a little bit about your career, a lot about your career first. I mean, then you went to the Bob Newhart Show?
Yes. Let's see. We got an Emmy on the Smothers Show. We were canceled. My next show, the Bob Newhart Show was just an episode that I wrote with George Yannick. What the hell did I do after Smothers? I did Music Scene. There was a show on a short-lived 17-episode show on ABC called Music Scene that features sketches and comedy. It was kind of contemporaneous. It was ABC's effort to match or overwhelm Laugh-In. And it was a very odd format. It was a 45-minute network show that went on the air at 7:30, and the thought was Laugh-In went on at 8.
Yeah.
So we would be on for a half hour before Laugh-In, and in those days where mechanical clickers were just
just being introduced.
People rarely got up to change the channel.
That's
so whatever
right.
channel you were on, you tended to stay on it until something came up that offended you.
Right.
You got up and changed the channel. But the strategy was to be on and bridge the gap at 8 o'clock, and then we were followed by another 45-minute show. Equally doomed, called the New People, which is a ripoff of the Desert Island Show and Castaway.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh! A pre-runner of all.
What was how was all this volatility reflecting the times? I mean, it seemed
from a comedy perspective.
From a comedy perspective, I mean, you were doing pretty anti-establishment stuff on very establishment broadcast networks.
Yes, and that was our charm.
Yep.
Right.
That's why people liked us. When we did the committee did the Carson Show.
Yeah.
They wanted us to do a sketch called A Blind Date, and the payoff, the punchline for Blind Date is, "You want a screw?" and senses of we did it in rehearsal, and program practices came running down and talked to the Tonight Show producers, and then they said you can't say screw, so we compromised that. Do you want to mess around? I think, which was the, but had none
That's
of the
really dirty.
but had none of the punch.
No, of course not.
So Carson came over to us and whispered to us, "Say screw, I'll cover for you."
Wow.
So the time we cue the actors, we did the sketch. We said screw. The audience went laughed and cried, and Johnny's at his desk going, "Oh, I had no idea they were going to say that." But the sketch played well. So everybody wound up a hero except program practices. But who cares about them?
That's right.
Well, that still goes on today.
Yeah, there's still a barrier to creativity.
But when I was looking at your extraordinary list of the shows that you did write for, I realized that the Amazon Women on the Moon, I'm in that movie.
Yes.
I don't know if you wrote the sketch. The sketch that I did was about silly putty, silly pate. Edible silly putty.
No, I didn't.
I'm eating skeezix, Anyway, no, but you did right. But we had that in common.
Yeah, and Amazon Women on the Room, I actually directed one of the segments.
Yeah, it was a great time, really. There was like this little opening for satirical comedy.
Satirical comedy, progressive comedy. It was.
What was the thinking? Because of the youth movement, the hippie movement, they thought they could push it a little?
Well, yeah, everybody realized that that the youth movement was, besides being, headline worthy and, Woodstock generation and all that stuff, in addition, it was pushing the political barriers of what was safe speech, what was free speech.
Yeah.
There was a free speech movement in Berkeley, which was a big deal. Yeah. So on KPFK, I can say this word. The zeitgeist was in favor of progressive comedy, so it benefited Phil and I tremendously.
Yeah. Oh, and then that's when the great comedy albums were coming out from George Carlin and Richard
when he's
Pryor.
talking about the clicking, "Don't crush that dwarf, hand me the pliers," predicted the remote control, and what would happen when you could do that,
Yep.
Just like Procter & Bergman's album "TV or Not TV" predicted thousands of, we just thought there'd be hundreds instead of thousands of channels available to people. But at the time that you were doing your remarkable work, it was a nice, dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I can remember committee did a benefit for the peace movement in San Francisco, and we were a huge rally in San Francisco's.
Oh, boy, I'll bet.
That party outside of I guess outside the city hall is a place where demonstrations gather, and we were there. And I'm on the podium, and I'm thinking to myself, somewhere out there's a guy in a raincoat with a grenade. And we're all sitting ducks up here. Got to go on with the show. And if I see any unusual movement, I'm out of here.
Exit laughing.
Not your first tough room.
No. But we often speculated, what if, today this show, That Crazy, is out there.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's much more of an issue. In those days, it was rare. You didn't have many public serial killers coming out of the woodwork.
Well, you didn't have you didn't have millions and millions of military-style weaponry in the hands of unhinged people. So how did you make the transition from television into the movies?
Film writing.
Well, in those days, everybody in television wanted to be in the movies. That was the hierarchy.
Yeah.
Television, you were okay, but you were a second-grade artist. Movies were first-rate, and that's where everybody aspired. So I had won the Emmy. I had done a comedy with Richard. No, I had won the Emmy, and let me see how.
You need somebody to write your biography. Then you can just turn to page 17.
Yeah.
Where was I then?
But what was the question again?
The question was, well, there was this huge division between television and film.
Yes.
So through one way or another, there's a whole other origin story. But I was asked to collaborate with Steven Spielberg and work on a rewrite of Jaws.
How did that happen?
Okay, I'll do the origin. I'll do the origin story.
Sure. Yeah.
Stephen and I we had the same agent, a guy named Mike Medavoy, who you may remember.
Oh, sure.
And he was prescient on the notion of packaging. And he would put his clients together to do stuff. And he had a client roster that included Spielberg, Carol Eastman, John Milius.
Dreyfuss, was he?
No, Dreyfuss had his own agent. And then there was another guy, let's see.
Just those alone.
Yeah. But he had a pretty sterling client list. And he put me together with Stephen. And
now, Stephen at this point is pretty young. He did Duel.
Stephen has just gotten his Universal contract as a result of he did a short called Amblin.
Oh, that's right.
Which is the source of Amblin Productions. But
Sugarland.
so he was doing television. He was a television director, and he directed the pilot for Columbo, which very few people know.
Oh, I didn't know.
He directed the Joan Crawford thing on
on Night Gallery. Yeah,
where she goes blind and can see for 12 hours, and there's the blackout in New York.
Wow.
And then I remember Duel very well.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I acted in a couple of his television movies. He did a TV movie called something. It's on that list as a
It's
TV.
on the list.
Something or other. Something wild, something strange, something whatever. Anyway, I did that TV movie as an actor, and then he sent me the script of Jaws that he had picked up off the desk at the Zanuck Brown office, and sent me a copy with a note on the cover that said "Eviscerate it."
Ooh.
So in those days, if I was approached with a rewrite job, I would type out, because that was the technology of the time. I would type out a long memo or a short memo saying, interesting material. This is what I would change. This is what I would keep.
Right.
And it was good to have it in writing, because when you start doing a rewrite, they go, "Oh, we didn't ask for this." And I said, "No, I said I was going to do this." It was a way of covering my ass. So I wrote the memo, which I still have to this day. I exhumed it for a Spielberg documentary. But in the memo, I made one mistake and one prescient comment. The mistake first, I said, "Does the girl have to die because she has sex?" That's such a teen movie cliche, Teenager has sex, dies. I didn't know Stephen would shoot it the way he did.
Those are most of my dates, actually.
Yeah.
That's the opening scene.
But at least you had sex.
Yeah, right.
What happens to them after is not our concern.
Who cares?
That's the opening scene of Jaws.
Yeah, and it turned out to be the opening scene of Jaws, and he shot it so that was it not a cliche when it happened.
Oh, you bet.
And the other comment I made, I said, if we do our jobs right, me and Stephen, people will feel about going in the water the way they felt about taking a shower after Psycho.
Psycho, exactly.
And it sure did work, because I was at Martha's Vineyard not a year after that movie came out, and I was with a buddy. We were, in our 20s. He would not go in the water.
Oh, yeah. We were sued by some beach in Florida for destroying their business, and it was.
Well, they spotted a 10-foot long white shark, great white, off of the North Carolina coast or something like that just yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
I thought, how prescient is that?
But no, it still fascinates
the memo that you wrote, I don't know if this was part of the memo, but in Jaws log, you write about how, and this was the prescient thing for me, was that you wrote to him saying, you could go either way in this, and this could be another Poseidon adventure.
Yeah.
It could really go cheesy.
Yeah.
Or you could not. And so, in a way, you really pushed it.
Yeah. It turned out to be a happy circumstance and a beneficial situation for everybody.
Completely redefined the business.
Yeah.
I'd like to weigh in here a little bit on this.
I was just going to say.
Our guest fan, MC Gainey.
Yeah, exactly. I was fascinated. I've read this book several times. I'm fascinated. It's an amazing book. The situation of being able to write a major motion picture while you're acting in it, and while it's being shot, is to me so bizarre that I can't.
Unique,
most writers today would freak out, I think.
Well, there's a couple. I think Casablanca was written that way.
Yes, that's right.
You had Julius and
right.
Philip. So yeah.
So there's a couple of films, And then, there's unspoken number of films where they won't admit that they were, making it up as they went along.
Right, yeah.
But it was not a common practice, I can tell you.
No, and you were working with a typewriter.
Yes.
I mean, to think that you didn't
Yeah.
have a computer to do
Yeah.
this is kind of
Now,
A typewriter, paper, and Scotch tape to put things together.
Yes,
You know, as I was thinking and salivating at the possibility of meeting you, I was trying to resist scene 188 and the Indianapolis speech. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought that maybe in a brief period you could tell that story about what it actually is and who wrote it.
Peter Benchley, in his contract, got it that he could write a screenplay for Jaws of his own novel. That was part of his deal. So they let him write. They had to let him take a crack at it.
Right.
His screenplay was just kind of a transcription of his novel.
Yeah.
So they got another writer, a guy named Howard Sackler, well-known writer, wrote Gray Lady Down and The Great White Hope. He's a real writer.
Great White Hope, yeah.
Great White Shark.
Yeah. So he
Simple step.
he wrote a draft of Jaws, which is the draft that Stephen sent me that said eviscerate it. And he, in the novel, the character of Quint has no backstory. He just exists. He's just an existential guy. Sackler invented the backstory for Quint because he was a Navy guy. He was aware of the Indianapolis incident, the court martial. So he put that in the screenplay. And everybody who read the screenplay from that point forward balked at that script because it's like 3 pages of just dialogue. And if you ever looked at a movie script, you've never seen 3 pages of dialogue.
And for those of you who may not remember, that was the scene where he spoke about the smorgasbord for sharks.
Yeah.
The sailor smorgasbord for
Yes.
sharks. Yeah.
it's his backstory.
Yeah, he basically put in Quint's backstory. So when I got it and Stephen got it, they were very nervous about that speech.
Oh, really?
And Stephen asked all his friends, Paul Schrader, George Lucas, John Milius, Carol Eastman, the whole Metaboy client list.
Wow. Paul Schrader, writer of Taxi Driver.
Yes. He asked him, he sent them all that speech and said, what do I do with this?
Huh.
And they all, crafted some sort of response, except Milius. I mean, Milius takes credit for it, and Spielberg gives him credit for it in an unfortunate documentary choice.
Slip of the lip.
That's incorrect.
Yeah.
As I say in my book, the only lines credited correctly to Milius is, I'll find him for 5, I'll kill him for 10.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only bit of Milius that's in the speech. And I know because I kept all the versions of the script and because I anticipated a credits arbitration. So
And that line doesn't appear in this scene. It appears in the town meeting. Yes, exactly.
So having determined that that there was all these writers, we're wondering now. By now, we're on the vineyard, and the day of shooting that scene is approaching.
Shot on Martha's Vineyard in
We
Massachusetts.
shot on Martha's Vineyard, and as the date approaches, everybody's getting real nervous. But we used to have dinner. Spielberg and I shared a house in the vineyard. He brought along his writer-actor to help him because we were good collaborative partners.
I encourage more of that for what directors who are listening to this.
Yeah, bring the writers. It wouldn't hurt. And we had a housekeeper and everything. It was very civilized.
Yeah.
And one night at a collective dinner, me and Stephen and Verna Fields and Zanuck and Brown.
Verna Fields was the mother cutter, the editor.
Yeah, Academy Award.
Yeah.
So Shaw comes in with this handful of paper and says, I think I've licked that pesky speech. And then he reads us his version.
Uh-oh.
And we are dumbstruck. Holy crap, this is it. Wow.
That's it.
So he finishes reading, and Stephen said, that's it. That's going, it's going in the movie. So the next day or so, whenever it was scheduled to shoot, we shot it with Shaw's version of the script. Now, keep in mind, Shaw had already won a Pulitzer Prize for The Man in the Glass Booth.
Yes.
He had written 5 published novels in England. Wow. He was a real writer.
Robert Shaw.
Yeah. In addition to being a gifted actor and a member
indeed.
of the Royal Shakespeare Company and all that stuff. he
Amazing man.
really knew his onions when it came to writing.
He did, yeah.
You're listening to Phil and Ted's Sexy Boomer Show on KPFK, and our special guest is Carl Gottlieb, and our special fan is MC Gainey.
Special
and
fan.
We're talking about the movie Jaws, which I hadn't seen since it came out.
Oh,
so I watched it on. You can rent it on Amazon for less than $4.
Yep.
And it's really something to see because, first of all, it takes you back to that time in the mid-'70s. Because I had spent some time on the vineyard. It was really nice to see the time capsule. But it was also remarkable to see this movie because it did revolutionize the film business.
Before the computer
But it was all
revolution.
analog.
Yeah.
And some it was a real shooting. And one of the fascinating things is how do you make that giant shark realistic, which was a huge job that was put off until the very end.
Very
but
frustrating
the thing that
job,
just
right.
blew me away was the rig in Cow Bay
Yeah.
off of Edgartown, where you had 3 fathoms down, 24 feet down, there was a rail installed where divers had to go down underwater and grease the rails. And this was the mechanism that pulled the shark, because you couldn't have a boat do it because you'd
Right.
see the wake in the rope.
Yep.
And this thing was being pulled mechanically
underneath.
24 feet underwater on the ground of the real ocean. I mean, no special effects.
Dragging
that
that wonderful big barrel behind it.
Right. No digital effects. This was the real deal.
It was long before CGI. Had there been CGI, Jaws would never have gone over budget because a lot of the last third of the movie is at sea.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you need a clear horizon. It was only 40 feet offshore, looking out across Nantucket Bay. But the illusion was you were way out to sea,
yes.
far long
Yeah,
way
but the
from help.
locals were shaking you down and
Locals were ripping us off at every opportunity. But
Yeah, now, I would say I'd like to return just for a moment
Sure.
to thank you for disabusing the myth that goes around about who wrote that,
Exactly.
and I love your line that who are you going to believe, the guy who was there and know who wrote it, or the guy who wasn't there and said he did.
Yeah.
I think we know who you're talking about.
right. And to just to paraphrase what you
Yeah.
said, what I actually said, who are you going to trust when the guy who was there and tells you he didn't write it, or the guy who was not there and tells you he did.
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering, would you have any interest in disabusing another myth or two that you've heard tossed around by
course.
people who weren't there?
Of course.
Please.
Tell me what myth.
I thought maybe you might have a thought of some. I mean, when you hear people say, "Oh, this happened this way and this happened that way," and you were there all the time for everything, it must make you chuckle up your sleeve.
Well, on the internet, there's probably 10 or 20 or 30,000 people who are members of various Jaws groups that I'm a member of also. And the same question arises like maybe every year or two.
Uh-huh.
And they all turn to me and they say, Carl, what about that? One of the most popular ones is there's a lovely nighttime shot of the boat at sea, and there's a shooting star that comes whizzing
Twice.
across the street twice. And the debate, although there shouldn't be a debate, is that an optical effect, or did Stephen just get lucky with that shot?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as Joe Alves is fond of pointing out, that was a day for night shot, so there was no way of putting a comment in the thing.
Right.
You just had to scratch the negative and put in. It
was nice,
Yeah,
though.
it was
Fableman's.
Fableman's.
It was a really
he
nice
invented
touch.
scratching the negative for gunshots. Wow.
And the whole decapitated head scene, which I played back a couple of times to see how the shock effect worked, and it was primarily audio.
Yeah.
And that was shot in a swimming pool with some milk in the water.
In
Verna's
in Verna's, yeah.
Verna's feels like months later in post-production that we made that. Stephen, we had seen the film in previews, and Stephen said, I need one more big scream.
Wow.
And that was the obvious moment, and that's where they went to Universal and scrounged up whatever they could from the boat.
Now, I have to tell you that your book, particularly the Jaws log, it captures so many characters that just seeing the movie, you might go, well, that's an interesting guy. Who is that guy? Hello, young fella, and all these different things. And you go through and flesh them out and tell who they are, which increases the enjoyment.
The local characters.
Oh, my God. Because I've spent some time in New England, and you can scratch any place you want. You'll find some characters now.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a line that Hooper has in the movie. He said, they're comparing scars.
Yeah.
and he showed, this is where Mary Ellen Moffat broke my heart. On the Vineyard, that gets a laugh that stops the show because there was a real Mary Ellen Moffat who was what the available girl in high school that everybody went with.
Oh, wow.
Whoa. Everyone knew her as Nancy.
Was there tension between Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss?
There was a natural tension that was built into the script. There was an actor's tension because Shaw was a trained actor from London with a real background. And Dreyfuss was a relative newcomer. He had one film,
Dirty Kravitz. Great film.
Brilliant.
American Graffiti hadn't come out yet. Yeah. He was a good kid actor. He played.
I did a play reading with him at that point. He was just starting out.
And he had one line in
Valley of the Dolls.
Maybe, but I'm thinking of the
Alzheimer's story.
Yeah, that's it. No, it's a fraternity house in Berkeley, and he steps in and says, "You want me to call the cops? I'll call the cops." It's
no, that was not a Berkeley. That's the hotel where Anne Bancroft is having an affair with Dustin Hoffman.
The Graduate.
It's in The Graduate. So Dreyfuss can be seen at the lobby of the hotel saying that line.
I'll be darned.
But also with Norman Fell. He's got the boarding house, and she screams. Yes. She screams, and everybody comes to the door. And Dreyfuss leans in and says, "Want me to call the cops? I'll call the cops." I'm thinking, oh my God, that's Dreyfuss. Yeah. But I can't remember the name of the movie.
So Jaws kind of broke some conventions. You call it a 2-act structure, not a 3-act structure.
That's right.
Yeah.
I have arguments with screenwriting professors about that.
Can you explain what the difference is to somebody?
Well, the standard Western dramatic structure has evolved since Molière and Shakespeare. It started out as classical drama has a 5-act structure.
Yep.
And, that suited actors and writers for a couple hundred years. And then somewhere along the line, probably in the 19th century, to simplify storytelling, it evolved into the 3-act structure, summed up as Act 1, introduce the actor, get him up into a tree. Act 2, throw things at him, complicate his life. Act 2, Act 3, get him down.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Well, if you look at Jaws, Act 1 is everything until the time they go to sea, curtain, raise the curtain, and then you're at sea for Act 3 where they kill the shark eventually. I'm sorry, I'm spoiling.
Spoiler alert. Too bad, too late.
But it's a 2-act structure. And I was teaching screenwriting at Columbia in New York, and I was having an argument with the chairman of the department and the other guys who taught film, and they said, "We're teaching 3-act structure." I said, "Well, it's 2-act structure." The guy says, "No, it's a 3-act structure. I'll show you how." I said, "Don't bother.
Don't bother.
You're wrong." But
So it just broke a lot of norms. And, and this was the first summer blockbuster, which that's how it did change the industry.
Yeah.
It went immediately out on like 500 screens, which was unheard of at the time, right?
The origin of that was after the second preview in Lakewood, California, which was picked for its similarity statistically to Middle America. They did a lot of product testing there because of real white bread Orange County community in those days. The head got the big scream and everything. After the preview, where the head was in the show and everybody screamed, there was just a buzz. You couldn't hear yourself think, and the buzz in the lobby was so great. So the only place you could talk was in the men's room. So in the men's room of the Lakewood Theater are Sid Sheinberg, Lou Wasserman, the head of publicity and marketing for Universal, and one other person, standing with their expensive shoes in the water because everybody had held it in until the final credits. So everybody had been flushing the toilets like crazy.
You were in this room too, clearly.
Yeah. So there's 2 inches of water.
It was the room where it happened.
And Wasserman says, the best word of mouth is a line around the block, maybe where people can't get in.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we need to recoup a lot of money on this thing, so maybe we don't wait for. So the compromise was we'll open it as wide as we can. In those days, it was like 480 screens when it first opened.
You opened Jaws wide.
Yes,
Wonderful.
So,
So it came to pass.
What did that feel like to know that you had that great a success?
Well, we didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody figured it was going to be a summer blockbuster movie. We get everybody go, popcorn movie.
Yep.
And come September, everybody go home. And
Still rolling.
And the reason it opened at 400 screen, we get our money back no matter what happens.
Yeah.
Well, it opened on 400 something screens, and then the word of mouth and the reviews, everything conspired that the movie started to gross and gross and gross.
what did it finally gross approximately?
I don't know, enough to qualify it on an inflation-adjusted average for one of the top 10 grossing films of all time.
With a budget of originally $3.5 million, but went up to $5
Went up to about $7 million or $8 million. But by opening...
That was just your salary, though.
Yeah, it's just the writer. So they made all this tremendous amount of money, and then it just kept grossing. July, August, September. It just...
How exciting.
Every week we were the top grossing film. And then they started taking ads in the trades showing the shark devouring Sound of Music, Godfather, all the priests. And until the release of Godfather 2, Jaws 2 was the most successful sequel of all time.
Wow.
And Jaws...
3D?
Yeah, you did. Your credits include The Jerk,
Yes.
Jaws 2, Dr. Detroit, Jaws 3D, Which Way Is Up, and Caveman, which you directed.
Yep.
Wow. So you
I
went on to
think the Jaws 3D was subtitled "Which Way Is Up."
Wow, that's remarkable.
I'd like to ask you another question, if I may.
Sure.
A few years ago on NPR, you were having a conversation about, I believe, about Spielberg was what was in your mind, if I may. But you said that there were 2 or 3 abilities that if you were going to be successful as a film director, you should have these abilities.
Right.
And I remember that one of them was it would be really handy if you had great talent. And I wonder, do you remember that discussion?
Well, yes. Yeah, so the 3 things, the 3 tentpole legs of the tripod of success.
Yes.
Is speed, accuracy, and involvement.
Wow.
And almost everything devolves to 2. You can usually, and the problem to most people is you can have 2 out of 3. You can have it cheap and fast, but it won't be good. Wow. You can have it good and cheap, but it won't be fast. Yeah. You can have it fast and cheap, but it won't be good. So Jaws, Stephen did all things. He could do it fast, he could do it cheap, and he could do it good, which is very unusual.
Are you still connected to Steve?
No, we're cordial to each other.
Cordial.
But nowadays, as I say in the book, Stephen is like a volcano. He's best observed from a distance.
I remember you also saying that at some point that the ability to negotiate the politics is a big advantage,
yes.
too. And that comes through in your book. The politics shouts at you from many pages.
Stephen was a superb politician. Most directors ignore the politics and concentrate on the art.
Yeah.
A lot of people will do the art and the politics and not pay attention to the quality. Yeah. Stephen mastered everything: politics, quality, and
Could I ask what you thought briefly about David Brown and Mr. Zanuck? I mean, as
the two producers.
Yeah, you were. Number one is they were stingy bastards. William Gilmore, who was executive producer, and saved the production literally. I mean, he bent all his skills of 20 years as production manager to making sure that we got the movie finished no matter what.
Wow.
And as a reward, Zanuck and Brown bought him a big screen TV.
Wow.
At which point he quit and went out on his own.
I'll bet he did.
Meanwhile, Across the Hill, where 5 Easy Pieces was a hit, everybody involved in that picture, including my friend who paid the sound engineer, got a check for $20,000 or a Miata. Wow.
Wow.
with a note from the producers saying, we want to share our success with you.
Now speaking of that,
Yes.
let's talk about the writers' strike.
You are very involved, or were very
I was
involved,
very involved.
in the union, the Writers Guild. You were vice president here on the West Coast. And
a long history
It's
with it,
interesting
too.
in your book, 30-year anniversary edition of the Jaws Log, which I highly recommend to anyone curious about the business
Second
and
that.
particular Jaws. You kind of were pressing it because you were talking about now it's 2001 and the commercial actors are on strike. I remember that strike. And,
boy.
who knows what's going to happen in 2025, which was a quarter century into the future. And now here we are almost. And we're now at the crossroads of a strike. And one other thing to set it up is that, the LA Times today had an interesting article about the pay compensation for the CEOs of these companies that are being struck. And David Zaslav, I guess you pronounce his name, Warner Brothers Discovery. We're talking about a total compensation of $500 million. And, Ted Sarandos, because this is really kind of euphemistically called the Netflix strike. These people are making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Now, a lot of it is equity, and they may not see it because of the stock price, but even so.
Karl Marx had the answer. From each according to his ability, to each according to his need.
Yeah. Sort of like the Native American philosophy of wealth.
Yeah.
You just take what you need.
Yeah.
So what is your take on it? I mean, the simple encapsulated question, you may not have the answer to this, but in strike busting, in the grocery strike, for example, years ago, Burkle told the union heads, because my landlord was one, said, I'll spend more money than you want to break the strike because I don't want California to set the tone for the rest of the supermarkets across the country. So these billionaires have bottomless pockets.
Right.
And so it's really almost cruelty. It's not inability. How much would you think that the WGA is asking for in dollar amount if they got what they asked for, and how does that compare to one of these people's annual salary?
You'd have to go on the internet and look at the what the unions are saying, because they've done those calculations. I haven't.
Okay.
I didn't.
But tell us about what is your take on what's going on? Same old, same old?
Pretty much so. The greed heads want to keep it all, and the workers, in this case the writers, but also the directors and the actors, only want what is a fair share of the pie.
Right.
That's right.
Just share the wealth. There's plenty to go around. You guys can still have 7, almost 8-figure salaries.
Yeah.
Yep.
But what we're asking for adds up to a total over the 3 years of the contract. I mean, I'm just giving you hypotheticals. Over the 3 years of the contract, you give us everything we're asking for. It's still, a fragment of what's
they would be
available, what the
making, that's
pool
right.
is. I mean, Netflix has 230 subscribers
236
worldwide.
million.
230 million subscribers. Multiply that by $40 a month, which is what most of them are paying. That's a hell of a piece of change, and you can make a show like Game of Thrones with horses and period and all that, and a per episode cost of $1.8 million or $3 million.
That's right.
And not even affect your bottom line.
Netflix is a little tone deaf too, because they've chosen this week to clamp down on subscription usage for
that's true, isn't it?
Parents that have kids at college, or people who are in a separate location for more than a month have to get a second account.
Yep.
It's
The greed heads never stop being greed heads.
Yeah, and the studio heads never stop. I used to romanticize them 50 years ago when I came into this business. But I heard the other day that in 1942, the head of Warner Brothers had heard that he'd seen what the Japanese did, and had heard they were going to bomb Warner Brothers because it was right next to Lockheed. It looked a lot like it from the air. So he sent a team up to paint a big arrow on the roof of the stage one, literally saying Lockheed with that arrow.
No.
I mean, that's the kind of Americans that Jack Warner was, and because the Defense Department made him take it off. But hey,
That's
I
very
appreciate
funny.
the gesture, Jack. So they're sort of saying the same thing now.
In the voiceover industry, we have been fighting for years to try to get a residual piece of the games, the profit that the video games are making, which is the billions and billions of dollars.
Of course.
There's no piece in that. I had no idea.
They raised the salary for screaming for 3 hours.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And to make up for it, they abruptly cut the health benefits of the senior performers like Phil and myself, who accumulated our pension credits, during better times.
That's right.
And they just arbitrarily said, "Oh, fuck you! You don't have any health coverage anymore."
Yeah, that's right.
The three of us, we're all out. Yeah.
It's a very disturbing.
We're still licensed by the FCC. Just so
the F-CC.
That'll be a $10 fine.
Well, send me a bill.
I'll pay it now. Cash, okay.
I'll give you 50 right now if I can say up some more.
I got 100. Tell them everything.
So they, it's almost seeming like with the residual system being torn up because of the new distribution methodology, writers are losing ground. It's not even a matter of staying abreast of cost of living.
Well, everybody is. The actors are too.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I wonder with SAG-AFTRA coming up and the directors coming up, if there's a teeth out attitude by the studios now to just say, we have there are 8 major owners of 90% of the media in America, and that includes all the TV studios, Comcast, for example. So you really have this small cabal of power brokers.
A cabal of cannibals.
It is
right.
It's a new world. It's different from the strike 20 years ago. Because of this, it seems more bleak for the worker.
Well, for all the wage scales and everything were developed based on 26 episode seasons.
Yes,
right.
Right.
Nowadays, a season is 8 episodes, 9 episodes,
7 or 8
and they want to keep you off the market as a writer for those 8 episodes and another 20 weeks while you prepare, your work. So it's a complete dilution of everything we've ever won in the past. So
can I wait in? I'm going to die if I don't ask you this question.
Yes.
So what are you doing now? What's going on next week? Are you writing anything now? What's
personally,
next?
Carl Gottlieb himself?
You personally, sir?
I'm just staying under the radar. I'm frailer than I've ever been. I kind of enjoy staying home.
Yes.
I went out this past weekend and did an autograph show in Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh, wow.
And, I signed a lot of autographs. I made a couple $1,000s in fees.
Mm-hmm. And met a lot of fans.
All fans.
That must have been fun.
But I got home. I was exhausted. I'm here having slept for 14 hours.
Oh, is that right? It was
I came back. I had an 8 a.m. flight from Baltimore, which is like 5 a.m. here.
Yeah.
So by the time we got to L.A. and by the time I got to my bed, I had been awake for 6 hours, and it was only 10 a.m.
Whoa!
And I was.
So you just came back?
That's right.
I came back yesterday.
Are you still writing?
Only if somebody asks and pays me. I don't seek out writing work. I haven't started. I did come up with the title, or at least a concept for my own autobiographical book, which everybody has been saying you ought to write a book.
Yes, sure.
The title is An Imperfect Journal, and it's based on something I said years ago, which is, here's the whole quote, "Memory is an imperfect journal of experience."
Oh, that's lovely. It's so true.
Very true for mine.
I think I heard that once before.
Your memory is amazing. It may be imperfect, but it is amazing.
Hey, Carl.
Yeah.
Does this ring a bell with you? I'm giving him a piece of paper.
I'm handing a piece of paper that says,
Carl.
"Greetings of the season, 4th annual Carl Gottlieb belated greetings and chain letter, in which I attempt to serve both social and postal obligations."
I found that when I was going through some of my stuff, and it just blew my mind that I've saved this.
It's very
and what it is, Carl, you wrote this really, really funny piece about don't resend this chain letter or you will die.
The first, I'll read the first paragraph of the letter. It says, "Dear friend, this letter has never been around the world, not once. Nobody has ever sent a copy to anyone else. Bring luck and good fortune to yourself by neither duplicating it nor forwarding it to anyone." Basically, that's the message of the letter.
I suppose in the moment we have left, what would you tell somebody young, getting started, looking at the landscape? What's the best in as a writer?
The same advice I give to myself and everybody else: keep writing.
Yes.
Write. Get up in the morning and write. Stephen King gets up, doesn't go to lunch until he's written 500 words. If you write every day, you wind up with a body of work. For better or worse. But you have to write every day. And if you're blocked, if there's nothing to write, if you're sitting there staring at a blank screen or a blank piece of paper back in the day, write anything. Write a letter to a friend. Write a laundry list. Write a memo to yourself about how you've got a plunge in the toilet tomorrow. But just keep writing. Write. Keep putting words on paper any way you can, and then eventually the block will go away, and then you'll proceed with whatever it is you really want to write, which is your story or screenplay or like that.
And before we wrap up, I do want to also mention that your cousin Paul Gottlieb was a friend of our family, the Proctor family, because my mom was his secretary. And Paul was a very well-known editor in New York and created the Horizon magazine, which is still a wonderfully unique piece of art.
My cousin Paul is the guy who convinced me to recapture the copyright for the Jaws log and reissue it.
There you go.
And he hooked me up with Esther Margolis from Newmarket Press. And I remember Paul calling me from a theater lobby in New York saying, I just talked to Esther Margolis. Call her. She's going to print your book.
Hot job.
Oh,
Isn't
wow.
that great?
Thanks, cousin.
It came to pass.
I want to pay a tribute to Milt Larson, the co-founder of the Magic Castle, and a remarkable man of many, many talents, who was as kind as he was prolific. And so, God bless you.
Our guest next week is Phoebe
Dorwin.
Yeah.
That's right. And maybe a mystery guest will be showing up,
Well,
too.
I can't thank you guys enough for letting me be here.
You're a great fan.
See.
Carl Gottlieb, thank you so much. What a wonderfully interesting hour this has been.
Thank you.
And
thank you for Jaws.
Regards from Marianne, by the way.
Really?
If you're listening, Marianne, we send our regards back to you.
This is Phil and Ted's Sexy Boomer Show. I'm Ted Bonnet.
I'm Phil Proctor, and we'll be hearing you again
Next
soon,
week.
won't I?
Yes. Bye-bye.